Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is turning upside down. We need to be prepared more than ever. There are so many things going on that there's no way that we can all keep up with everything that's going on. But guess what? Your safety is your preparedness plan. That is your safety. Whatever the world wants to do, if it wants to go crazy, let it be. Because the world, in my opinion, does not want to be saved. But you can do something to ensure that you and your family are okay when the lights go off. That you are okay when the food runs out. That you are okay when the gas pumps run dry. There are several articles that I would love to do a video on each, but I'm going to skim through each of them. I'm going to leave the link to each article in the description of the video and in a pinned comment. That way you can get to it easily if you want to revisit them. Now, the first one here is Putin signs decree ordering gas exports to be halted if buyers don't pay in rubles. And the world thought that he was playing around. One thing, ladies and gentlemen, that I've learned about Vladimir Putin, I think that's how you pronounce it, is that he doesn't really play around too much. He doesn't really joke around or play chicken too much. If he says he's going to do something, usually he does. And here, according to Bloomberg, Putin said he had signed a decree demanding payments in rubles for Russian gas supplies, which is set to begin April 1st, as previously reported. According to the decree, while Russia will continue to supply gas at set volumes and prices, it will demand that buyers of gas open accounts in Russian banks and warn that Moscow can halt gas contracts if buyers don't pay in rubles. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what are countries that depend on Russia for fuel, for energy, going to do if they are NATO countries? Are they going to let their people freeze? Are they going to let their people starve? Because Russia is one of the main exporters of wheat and also one of the main exporters of fertilizer, which equals food. What are countries going to do? Are they going to all come to the U.S. and demand that the U.S. provide them with those things? Because we are a producer of energy. We are a producer, a big producer of wheat and corn, if we can get our hands on fertilizer, that is. Get ready now. Get ready now, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to be a drawn-out war. We are in a cold war right now. And it's going to be drawn out. And the ones that will suffer will be the people. It will not be governments. It will be the people that suffer. So make sure that you are preparing and that you are doing your best to stay prepared. Just as fertilizer equals food, energy equals food. And it says here, Sri Lanka turns off streetlights as energy crisis worsens, and the fishermen are unable to sail for lack of food. So the unintended consequences of having one problem doesn't usually manifest until a little later. And I'm pretty sure this will not be the first unintended consequence of Sri Lanka's energy crisis. They say here that tiny Sri Lanka is struggling through an economic crisis that is having terrible repercussions for its economy, as a brutal energy crisis threatens to blossom into shortages of food and other essentials. My question is this: do you think this can happen where you live? Do you think that we could have an energy crisis and a food shortage crisis where you live? Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Wake up and smell the coffee if you haven't done so already. Thanks to an energy crisis, Sri Lanka is resorting to turning off its streetlights to save electricity as its worst economic crisis in a decade bites, forcing, among other cutbacks, the temporary closure of local stock market as the impact of the crisis is felt. That's another thing, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to be thinking about. Look, I'm not a financial advisor, but their stock market is closed, right? So they're saying here that their stock market is closed. Can they get to their money? If you think that what you have in paper assets is real, then ask someone from Sri Lanka and see if their wealth is real, that they hold in paper assets. I'm sure that we have some wealthy people in Sri Lanka that have most of their wealth measured in stocks and bonds and things like that. Well, right now, their wealth is not doing very much to them. I've always said, I'd rather have most of my wealth in my pantry. That way I can make sure that I can feed my family in times of need. And this here, ladies and gentlemen, is just an example of what happens when you stop producing. Nations that are producing nations will be better off than those that are not in the long run. Here, Russia is being sanctioned, right? And because of their sanction, we're finding out exactly what it is that Russia's input into the global economy is. Here it says that the London Palladium and Platinum markets, which are precious metals, an industry association said it would keep the two Russian refiners in a credits on its good delivery list of firms whose material is eligible to trade in London. They are starting to find out that there are things that Russia makes that is necessary worldwide. And why is that? My point here has nothing to do with sanctions on Russia. My point is that if you want to be in a position of strength, you better have all of your ducks in order. You better make sure that you're going to be able to get the things that you need if you don't produce them yourself from somewhere else. Because, ladies and gentlemen, here, especially in the United States, we produce almost anything, but we have the ability of producing everything. In my opinion, this is a controlled demolition of the United States, what's going on right now. And when people talk about New World Order, there will be a New World Order, ladies and gentlemen. And unfortunately, I don't see that with the U.S. on top, as it has been for the past century or so. So get ready. What can you do about this, ladies and gentlemen? What can you do about the decisions and policies that are passed by our politicians? I don't even like to call them leaders. There's not much we can do about it, but we can be prepared. That way the decisions and policies that they pass won't affect us as harshly as it would someone that did not take the time to go out there and prep up for themselves and their families. And this article, ladies and gentlemen, it just tells you how insane our politicians are. Look, I'm not a warmonger. I hate war. There should be no need for war. I think we can all agree on that. However, if you want to stay out of war in the days and in the time that we live in right now, you have to have a strong military. Unfortunately, it's the way it's always been. All right, a strong military or a strong defense is a good deterrent against an enemy, all right, to come and attack you in any way. It's a great deterrent. But now, U.S. Army proposes to cut troop levels under 1 million for the first time in 20 years. And they say here, what better time for the U.S. Army to consider cutting its numbers than right now? With tensions between the U.S. and both Russia and China likely at multi-decade highs. But that's exactly what a new budget proposal suggests, according to a new report by Bloomberg. So we want to go ahead and spend a whole bunch of money on all of this green stuff, but we don't want to go ahead and spend money on the green stuff, on the green suitors, which is what we used to call them, right? On the green suitors, the soldiers, the military, to make sure that our country is safe from an invading force. It's clown world at its finest. Here's something else that's going on that I don't really hear too much about, and it's the avian flu that's spreading throughout the United States. If you take a look at that map down there, you can see all of the little orange dots, and that's everywhere where it's been detected, right? Backyard or commercial flocks, be it personal or be it industrial. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to continue to spread because there's really no way that you can keep wild birds from passing that along the country, right? So it's just another way of nature putting us in check. But what is that going to result in? It's going to result in much higher poultry prices. Let me tell you about my brother and I. We had a conversation actually earlier today. And you all know that I have a brother that lives in Dominican Republic. And he was telling me that the price of chicken over there has increased fourfold in the last year. Now, I'm not saying that this is all due to the avian flu. Probably some of it has something to do with it. But through inflation and through these types of crises, he is paying now 4 times more for a chicken than what he did less than a year ago. And ladies and gentlemen, I've always said something. I said that, listen, when you see smaller countries, when you see emerging countries, and especially when you see Europe, all right, or Germany or the EU or whatever, when you see those nations, those countries, continents, whatever you want to call them, when you see them start to fall, and then especially the bigger ones, that's it. We have no time to get ready. For example, let's say for example that the euro collapses tomorrow, all right? Just for example. I'll tell you what, if you ever see that happen, and I'm not on for whatever reason to tell you, you better be ready. You better be getting everything that you need. Because in the United States is going to be probably one of the last to fall when it comes to the dollar, because we hold the reserve currency. So all of these other countries are going to start to fall before us, and then the U.S. is going to fall. If it works the other way around, which it could, all right, it could. I could be 100% wrong. But if the United States falls, if the dollar collapses overnight, meaning that it like hyperinflates overnight, then every other country will be done, except for those countries that already have a bilateral system of trade, which is being set up, and I believe has already been set up by some Eastern nations. Controlled demolition, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason I keep saying that is because, in my opinion, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but just looking down, looking from the 35,000 foot level, looking down, it looks like everything that we've done in the last year, year and a half, has been done on purpose in order to collapse our economy, to destroy our middle class, and to destroy our production. Right? Our production has been going away for several decades. But this last year and a half or so has acted more so upon the destruction of our middle class and whatever little manufacturing we have left here in these United States. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is just ridiculous. I mean, I have an associate's degree, okay? I'm not very intelligent. I'm not very well educated, ladies and gentlemen. But the last plan to curb soaring gasoline prices, this is ridiculous. All right, do a poll. Ask 10 people that you know, what should we be doing so that our energy prices can come down? Right off the top of my head. And I mean, my wife doesn't even follow this kind of stuff, and I'm sure that if I ask her, she'll tell me right away, we need to increase our energy output. We need to do what we were doing a year and a half, 2 years ago, producing energy for ourselves, producing enough so that we ourselves can have what we need instead of depending on outside countries, on countries that are outside our borders. But instead, we go and we try to penalize those companies that themselves provide us with the oil and the energy that we need. Still, too many companies are not doing their part and are choosing to make extraordinary profits and without making additional investment to help with supply. Ladies and gentlemen, these companies are the ones that keep our economies running. What is that worth to you? These companies were making awesome profits 2 years ago, but were people complaining about gasoline at the $1.20, at $1.50? I didn't hear anyone complaining about these companies' profits 2 years ago when gasoline was $1.50. But now this administration is saying, hey, it's because of these oil companies that we're paying such high prices. They need to pay their fair share. I'm telling you what, listen why this is so dangerous. This is so dangerous because eventually these companies are going to get fed up and they're going to leave or close shop. And then we're going to have nothing. Can the government pump oil? Can our government pump oil? Tell me what the government can do that is not destructive in nature. One CEO even acknowledged that even if the price goes to $200 a barrel, they're not going to step up production, the White House said. But why are they not going to step up production, ladies and gentlemen? It's because our government is keeping them from doing so. They're the ones that are shutting these leases down. They're the ones that shut the pipelines down. Their goal is that we one day shift over to electric vehicles, to EVs. And in order for that to happen, the American people will have to realize a price of $13 at the gas pump. They've actually already done that research. How much pain does the average American need in order for him or her to consider switching over to an electric vehicle? And that pain is the equivalent of $13 at the gas pump. Are government officials supposed to keep us safe, ladies and gentlemen? Is that what you think? Do you think that the government's job is to keep you safe? Because if it is, then you're going to have a very rude awakening one day. I just hope that all of those people that have been hurt because of this thing, I just hope that they make a full recovery. I met a really, really good person a couple of days ago. One of our community members. I met him out in town. And he's had a very hard time with this issue right here. But do you think that the government's going to come and save you? Do you think that the policies that the government passes are on your behalf or theirs? Do you think that the bunkers that the government has are for you or for them? Then what I'm saying here is this. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Well, listen to it, but do your own research. And convince yourself either way. Because you're the one that has to live with the consequences of the decisions that you make in life. But don't think for a second that government is going to be there to bail you out when you need it the most. When you need it the most, government will be as far away as possible. And it will be unreachable. A brother of mine told me that he was trying to call the passport, I think it was passport place here in the U.S. And he was on hold for 6 hours because he needed to renew his passport. Well, he eventually got through. But he was on hold for 6 hours, ladies and gentlemen. Having said that, I do hope that you're all doing well. Let's go ahead and carry this conversation on to tomorrow's live stream, which will be Friday, April 1st, ladies and gentlemen. Is it? Yes, tomorrow's April 1st, Friday. So let's carry that conversation over to tomorrow's live stream at 2 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Hope to see you all there. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.